So if you guys are looking to grow a business, the first key I would recommend is education and getting around the right people. They say your network is your net worth. And so, or vice versa, whatever. But anyways, I've got Payton on here and she's literally on track to make over a quarter million this year. And that's just one of her companies. That's just with a specific beauty service. And so, Payton, real quick, tell us a little bit about, how you got on track to making 250K this year or more. And because you said you've already made that, right?
Yep, I'm already at, for just the permanent jewelry part in one location, I'm at $256,462 this year from January till today, November, what are we, November 5th.
Nice. And if you're watching or listening to this, this is not a testimonial video about our services or anything like that. This is to help you guys out because she has been an experienced business owner for the past 14 years and she's got a lot of great things to share. We're going to talk about, all kinds of stuff, whether it's customer service, marketing, how to grow if you're just starting, all this stuff. So you definitely want to tune into this one. So let's start with, how did you get started 14 years ago? What did you get started in? And, how has that progressed?
Yeah, absolutely. So my parents were entrepreneurs and I was homeschooled. So I was always with them in their companies. So I've been blessed that I've actually never worked for anyone but myself. So it's just been a continuous progression of when we wanted to do something, we built a business and how could you turn it into a business? So that's been my whole entire life since I've been here. So that's going to be my big part. My dad got sick, and so my mom and I jumped into business together because it was always my dad and my mom. And so once he had cancer, and we were treating it alternatively, and he was the main breadwinner, my mom and I had to be creative in how we were going to be able to pay our bills if we didn't have him. And so my mom had been a professional makeup artist for years and years and owned a model and talent agency, and my dad was a professional photographer. And so it was, gosh, 14, 15 years now. My mom and I decided to jump into eyelash extensions because it went really well with the makeup part of it. And originally, when we started to do eyelash extensions, we thought, okay, it's just going to be people getting photos for, my dad's model talent, like that kind of piece of it. And
Mhm.
so it was just a piece that we were going to be adding into that. And it just continued to slowly grow and grow until the point that we were so busy doing lashes that we really didn't do anything else, and which was great because my dad progressed further into his cancer during that part, so he wasn't able to work, and that was my mom and I. And so we continued to grow our eyelash extension company, and that company is still running in New Mexico. And then 10 years ago, come next month, I opened a hot yoga studio. I used to teach dance before
Mhm.
our eyelash extension company, and I missed teaching, but I didn't want to deal with the drama of like dance moms. So I jumped into a hot yoga studio, and we were at the point of our lease was up for our eyelash company. And so we decided to do a bigger space and put our eyelash company and our yoga studio together in the same spot. So we had 4,000 square feet of both for both companies to be able to operate out of. And those had been running strong until 2021. I found out about permanent jewelry. And going back even farther, with being homeschooled, my mom always had put me in different extracurricular activities. And so when I was 7 years old, she actually started a jewelry company with me that was called Prince Designs. And that jewelry company, I was actually had like write-ups about me in magazines and like all sorts of different stuff. I had won multiple awards at different shows and contests and that kind of stuff for my jewelry. And so in 2021, I found out about permanent jewelry and something that I really wanted for myself. And there was like one place in New York that was doing it. I was like, I don't want to go all the way to New York to go get permanent jewelry. So that's my husband had welding experience. And now there's like amazing trainings and like so many things you can do. But in 2021, there really wasn't that I could find. And so we jumped into permanent jewelry. And honestly, I didn't do much with it. Like I did on my friends, I did it on like myself, but it wasn't something that we really put like a business mind behind. It was just something that was there and extra. And then I would say last year, so last November of 2023, we really decided to make it a business and to make it grow. And that's when we really jumped in. And I have to say, one thing that my mom has always struggled with, so it's not something that I learned well, was marketing. So we decided to do marketing behind it and all those pieces, and it's grown to what it is today. I actually have a studio, which I'm actually in right now, in Missouri, which I didn't start. And so that's my main thing that I'm doing in Missouri is only jewelry. So that's become our main piece of it, and it's just continuing to grow and grow.
Nice. And I know when we started, I know you did a podcast with us like maybe 5 months ago, 4 or 5, 6 months ago, something
It was
like
in
that.
May. Yeah,
Okay,
like
yeah,
middle of
May. So we did that podcast, and back then, I think the podcast title was like you had made 7,000 in one event or one weekend or something.
Yeah.
Um, just in those 6 months, how has your business grown?
So, back then, that month, so that was our best month. So at the time, the month before that, we were at like 12,000, 15,000, $12,000 for that month for April. And then in May, after we did that podcast, they continued to grow and grow. So that month we ended up doing 22,000, and it's continued to progress better every month. To this last month, we did 50,000, 57,842, and that's just in Missouri. That doesn't include the New Mexico locations or New Mexico businesses. That's just what I'm personally doing here.
Yeah, and just to reiterate that, because you said it a little fast, I want to make sure the listeners hear it. That's over.
Sorry, I do that.
Oh, no worries. That's over $50,000 per month in this one business. And for those who are thinking, because I know a lot of my listeners right now are probably thinking, well, like, that sounds too good to be true, or I can't even imagine those numbers. Not everybody, I guess, everybody has a different relationship with money. Some people would even be scared to come on here and tell their numbers. And so, what would you say, to that? Like, any advice?
Um, be proud of your numbers. Like, whether they're bad numbers or whether they're good numbers, they're energy that you've put out there for it's more money than you had before, right? Like if you were sitting on the couch doing nothing, then you'd be at zero. So even, my first month, if I go back to January, that I was like November is when I really started working it, but like January I'd say was a slower month. I made $1,200 last January. Like that's what January's number was, 1291.47. And you know what? Like that's a car payment for us, and I was super thankful that that covered that car payment. Um, I always find it funny that people are afraid of numbers because
Yeah.
I think they put their self worth into those numbers, and if the numbers are low, then it's not worth doing or anything else. And also, too, being afraid of having like the big numbers, right? I'm a firm believer then that like infinity is like your number. Like you
Yeah.
can do as much energy as you put into what you're willing to do, and as long as you don't stop yourself, you'll be able to do anything. Like my goals have continued to grow and grow. Like my goal every month is to beat the month before. And whether that is, personally, just how many times I'm posting. Maybe it's not going to be on numbers. Like I always set a goal for myself in some area of my business to do something more than what I did the month before to be able to grow to get where we need to. And, the $50,000 number sounds astronomical for a lot of people. But for myself, owning two companies in COVID, we were really bad off. Like the amount of loans that we took just to survive, to pay people and everything else. And so, this amount of money is helping me be able to get those to be back in normal range and to not be astronomical. So it's helping me for the mess that COVID caused. And so, yeah, I really, really believe that you're always able, what you need, I believe you're able to kind of like attract, right? Like
Right.
as long as you put the energy behind it and you have the right mindset, and you might not make those goals, but anything that you make towards that goal is better than doing nothing.
Yeah, and I think, it's all about what our norm is. So like if we're around, a bunch of people who, maybe you grew up in poverty, or maybe you grow up without, like I grew up and my parents were school teachers. It was all about working 30 years, retiring, you just get your paycheck, and
Hmm.
so I didn't know any different until I started reading books, getting around different people, watching YouTube, because, when I grew up in Alabama, I didn't, and I'm not trying to make the podcast about me. I'm just saying, like, this is why I love having guests like you on here, because it shows people what's possible. Because until you know what's possible, you don't really, um, you know, you're in your mind. It's just there's a cap to what you can make. There's a limit, and it's just like they did a study, or it wasn't even a study. It was like actually what happened, where like the world record for, like, I don't remember how many meters it was, but it was some kind of run for the Olympics. It was like 4 minutes or something, was like nobody thought it was possible. And then after one person did it, everybody else started beating that even more. It's just because you got to see one person do it. I just joined a very high level mastermind myself, and to get myself thinking bigger, because for a while I've been around the same people, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm doing good, I'm comfortable. But then I get around these other people, and they're like, yeah, I got 5 companies, this one's making 16 million a year, this one's doing this million a year, and I'm like, okay, maybe I need to step up a little bit. And so it's always good to get around people doing better than you. If it's like I told myself, or like somebody told me once, I don't remember who it was, but if you're the smartest person in the room, you need to switch rooms. It's the goal should be the dumbest person in the room. That way you can always learn from other people.
Absolutely. And you're also, I think it's like you become the five people who you're closest to. So if those five people that you're closest to aren't people that you're aspiring to be like, highly recommend changing that.
Yep.
And especially too, like with my other companies, like I have employees and I have all that kind of stuff. And honestly, it's easy to get drowned in all of those, emotions and like lower level things. And so always being that like leading from the front and not having those limiting beliefs and pushing farther is really not only beneficial for yourself but beneficial for the people around you. And like I have 3 kids, so like there's no option of failing. There's no
Yep.
like, I'm not going to fail them, and I'm not going to give them the life that they deserve and the life that they want, and the only person that would be stopping that is me. And
Love that.
I'm never going to ask myself, what if I had tried harder? I'm going to give it my all every single time to know that I tried the absolute best that I could for myself and for them, because they're worth it. And like I know I can fix it. Like I
Yep.
know that no matter what's going on, that I can push harder, I can do something different. Like if something's not working, you change it. We're not a tree. We don't have to stay in one place and just, be surrounded by the elements. We get to move, we get to adjust, we get to turn course. And so, that was the big thing with jewelry is I had my 2 businesses and it was feeling mundane. It was the same thing over and over again. And like jewelry has just been such new, fresh energy, getting to see people all the time. And it's a different business model, right? Like yoga is a membership model. Lashes, we don't do memberships, but it's the same people coming every 2 weeks. And for jewelry, I was like, well, you have to find new people all the time. But they really do turn into returning customers. I see people all the time who are coming multiple times to get more pieces because it's that same like addiction that
Mhm.
they love doing that. So yeah, I absolutely believe all those same things that you were saying.
Yeah, and I love how you take ownership of your life. You're like, if something goes wrong or if something's not working, and it's on me to fix it.
Hmm.
And so many people they go through life and they're like, this president or this economy or this, they're always pointing fingers of why it's not working out for them instead of taking ownership of their own lives.
Absolutely. I one of my first companies I built like in a recessed economy and we did amazing. And this, it's supposed to be a recessed economy. And there's so many people who are, doing awful and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not seeing it. But also too, I don't feed into anything.
Yep.
Right? Like I only what I'm consuming, everything else is not any of that stuff. What I'm consuming is making myself better, is my miracle morning, is all of my writing down all of my goals, is reading, is learning, is being a part of memberships that are helping myself grow. That's what I consume on a daily basis. Like I don't get sucked into everything else
Yep.
to even know what's going on because I'm still living here. I'm not leaving. So it doesn't matter what's going to happen around me because I'm going to continue to grow to work on myself. And honestly, this sounds crazy, but there's millions of dollars floating around there. So I just have to attract them to me. Like that's where that goes. So
I, I love that because basically what you're saying is you're very careful about the type of things you consume. You don't just get on Facebook and scroll mindlessly. You want to control what's coming into your mind.
absolutely. I also find too, like I don't follow any of the other permanent jewelry people around me. I don't follow any of the like I don't follow any competition because it doesn't matter what they're doing.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. I mean, my last weekend that I had a show, which was 2 weekends ago, it's a huge show. I think it pulls like 60 to 100,000 people. That I could count that like I saw like on their thing that their like name said like permanent jewelry, or like that I could tell there was at least 10 permanent jewelry artists there. I pulled like $14,000,
Wow.
and there's 10 other people. I know when I walked to the bathroom, I saw 3. Like because it doesn't matter.
So
It doesn't
was
matter
there just
because
like a ton of people there, or do you feel like there's something you do or something about your setup that attracts people to you?
um well, I think a lot of it is us. A lot of the feedback, I have to go off of feedback of what clients who chose us say. Um, a lot of it is us. So my mom is the one who's selling with me up front, and then I'm the one who's welding. And a lot of comments that come back is how engaged we are. Someone walks up, we ask them if they know about permanent jewelry. We ask them, do they have any questions? A lot of it is education. We're educating them of why we're doing sterling silver and gold filled and solid gold, why we don't have stainless steel or plated materials. Um, We have a lot of chains, and that's just my thing. You don't need a lot of chains. New Mexico doesn't have a lot of chains. I just love chains from having my jewelry company from before. Like, I just love it.
Mhm.
So I have a lot of chains. I have a lot of connectors. So a lot of feedback that I get is we have the most selection for people to be able to choose from. Honestly, I have the highest prices. 100%. I have the highest prices around.
Mhm.
But they're willing to spend more because we're engaged with them. We're also one of the only places that have a location. So people feel much more comfortable with us because they know that they can come. And my location costs $300 a month. It's not like, I have this huge storefront or anything else. Like anybody would be able, when I started my eyelash company, I had a tiny little space,
Mhm.
like I have this cute, adorable space that I've gotten. And but I'm here if someone needs effects, someone needs that kind of thing. They know that it's not, they're going to be chasing me around trying to find me. So that's feedback that I've gotten. And I would say the last thing of feedback that I've gotten is like our warranty. My biggest thing is I run my companies the way that I would want to be treated as a customer. So if someone breaks something, I fix it for free. It's a jump ring. It's 5-10 minutes of my time, but
Mhm.
80% of the time when they come in to fix that piece, they're buying another $150 bracelet because they want more. Like, so I'm taking care of them, they're happy, and then they're buying more from me at that same time. And 20% don't, and that's okay because I have that warranty in place to like take care of people. I also have a warranty in place that if they lose it, I'm going to replace it with a significant discount. They love the discount. It covers my time and it covers the cost of the chain. Do I make as much? Absolutely not. But you know what? I have a customer that's not going to go anywhere else because I'm taking care of them. So I would say those are the main differences that set me apart from at least my competitors out here. So that's the feedback that I've gotten of why people have chosen to come with me. I price by the inch and I just price it all by the inch no matter what. We run different offers. After learning through your chains, like I don't really do discounts, I do offers, where it's like free rings, stacking discounts, or like stacking pieces, that kind of thing. And my cheapest is like 65, and I go up. I main solid gold. I had someone spend $2,500 on solid gold.
Jeez. One customer,
So
2,500 bucks. Love it.
yeah, and she's come back 3 times. So, it's taking care of people. People want to be seen, people want to be loved, people want to be taken care of. When someone calls to, that something broke or complain or anything like that, we've created as a society that they have to come in and like they have to come in guns blazing and they're complaining and how awful and everything else. And it's like, it's no problem. Like, I'll fix it. It's free. It's not a big deal. Like, we just have to get it back on you. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, I told you that before, but that's what we've created as a society, that like people aren't taken care of, that there isn't that like base need of something wrong and people being taken care of. And so that's been a really big difference in my company. And, I have, I think at this point in Missouri, like almost 40 Google reviews that are all 5-star because I take care of people. I weld on I'll fix other people's bracelets. Like I do that kind of stuff just to take care of them because it's going to build that repeat customer.
Mhm.
And why are you going to try so hard to find more customers when you can just take care of people to have them keep coming back to you?
Exactly. So going back to this event that you mentioned, so you had 14 people there, or 14 competitors there, I would say, or 13 other competitors, 14 people total doing the same service,
Mm-hmm,
and you were the highest price. Now, the reason I wanted to point this out is most people who are, inexperienced in business, or I see this all the time, honestly, they're thinking like, okay, how do I stand out? Maybe I have to charge the cheapest prices, or maybe if I'm not even the cheapest, I'll just lower my prices. That way they'll come to me. But then what happens is out of 14 different people doing the same thing, at different prices, now you have, the cheapest person, which a lot of people are just going to assume, oh, they're just cheap. And then you're going to have a bunch of people in the middle. Now it's going to be really hard for those people to stand out in the middle because they're all priced about the same.
mm-hmm,
Whereas you set your price the highest, and there's something about like the perceived value of the most expensive thing, and it's
mm-hmm,
it's the opposite of what a lot of people think. They think like, oh, people just want the cheapest stuff. Well, a lot of times people want the most expensive stuff.
mm-hmm. Absolutely. And even before we had a location and everything like I haven't changed my prices. Like my prices haven't changed by having a location. So I was still doing well before we had our location because that didn't open until June. Um, but I still had the highest prices, but it was still taking care of people. It was still, and I'm a stickler for like no refunds. Like I really don't do that. But I always take care of them. They
Mhm.
lose it, I replace it. Like someone has a problem, there's always a solution to be able to figure out. And yeah, and what's cool too is that so the event where I was at, they had one in June, and that one in June was the same situation. We did $10,000 that weekend. Um, and there was, just as many people, same amount of vendors, that kind of thing. But the city actually reached out to me in October and was like, they had gone through all of the permanent jewelry people that were there, and my business was the only business that fit all of their criteria to actually become a verified partner of the city.
Nice.
And so, they're like, you actually pay your taxes. Like you've done, you have a business license, you have a social media presence, like all of the things of actually building it like a real business, like putting credit behind it, like actually making it be a standalone piece. And because of that, being a verified partner of the city, they brought me in for a witches night in October, and I was the only vendor. So there was 5,000 witches. It was a ticketed only event. I was the only vendor besides alcohol vendors. And in 12, no, I was there for 12 hours. The actual show itself was only 10 hours. I knew people weren't going to be coming at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Mhm.
So really sales started at 1 o'clock, and we did $12,000, I would say, in about 8 hours,
Wow.
being the only vendor. But that was because I've treated it like a business, and they had like secret shoppers like go around and check out businesses and everything like that. And like I was able to stand out, and it was like they were like, you're like one of the only people who actually talked to us when we had our secret shopper come, and you genuinely cared. And you know because of that and actually caring, it got me a contract with a city that does amazing events as being their only verified permanent jewelry vendor.
Yeah, and that just goes back to always do the right thing because you never know who's watching or who's what opportunities right there in front of you. You just don't even know it yet.
Absolutely. And it was funny. I had been like wanting to be a part of that witches night out event, and I knew they didn't do vendors. So I kept like in my book writing down like somehow we're going to be a part of this event. Like I know it's going to go so amazing. And literally like 2 weeks later, like once I found out about it, I got the call from the city. And it's putting it out there. It's really writing down your dreams and putting them out there and see. And they might not happen, but if it would be like that's something that would be really cool that we could do if we could be a part of it, and it
You
happened.
you mentioned Miracle Morning, and I know that's a book series, but
Hmm.
what is your Miracle Morning?
Um, Taking care of myself. So it starts off, I journal. So I write down all of my goals, where I'm at. So I do all that. I've never been like a writer, like in a notebook of like, I've never had a diary. Like that's just not me. So I'm really good at like writing goals. So I just write out my goals for all area of my life. My marriage, my kids, my business, all of those kind of things. Um, I move my body, so it's some sort of exercise, that kind of thing. Um, a couple times a week, I try to add in like sauning and that meditation,
Mhm.
yoga, movement, um, and just like actually getting ready. I feel like so many times like people just kind of couch rot when they're home,
Yep.
and so actually like getting up, getting ready for your day, because you never know what's going to happen. You never know what call you're going to get. You're never going to know like what's going to do. And I live an hour away from my studio, because we live kind of in the middle of nowhere. And so I'm always ready. Like if I have a client call, because we're open by appointment only, like to have a client call, to jump in, to be able to come in and help somebody. Like my kids are figure skaters, so like to be able to be with them. So yeah, just always getting ready, and then going through and doing stuff for my business. Like that's kind of like a non-negotiable of every day, of like doing reach outs, doing emails. I've gotten different things with wineries and all that kind of stuff because I've been the person to reach out. Like people don't, I feel like so many business owners think that people are just going to come to them. And
Yep.
then when they come to him, that they're failing. Right. And so, no, like I've gotten really cool things because I've been the person to reach out. You know, a lot of
So
people are going to ignore you. A lot of people,
I can
yeah.
already hear the comments screaming right now because this is what everybody wants to know. What are you saying to businesses when you reach out?
I ask people, basically, like I inform them of what permanent jewelry is. So I introduce myself, who I am. I tell them what permanent jewelry is. I tell them what sets my company apart from other companies, like my policies and that kind of stuff that sets us apart. And I asked them if they would be interested in, well, now I ask them if they're interested in a tasting. But before that, I would ask them if they are interested in, having a pop up, having us out, if they like to like see what we offer ahead of time. Cause I've had that happen where like people want to know what we're offering and that kind of stuff. So I come in and do like kind of a mock setup, and like the owner will like get a free bracelet and that kind of thing, just so that they can kind of see And then some people just want to jump, like I've had wineries just want to jump straight into having like an event and like throwing us in on like one of the busiest days. And I've had a lot of people never respond to me. And that's
Hmm.
okay. I just keep reaching out. I'm the annoying person
Are you
that continues to reach
are,
out multiple times until I get an answer. And then even when they say no, it's not no. It's just later because they don't know about it.
are you reaching out on Instagram, email, Facebook, or what?
I mainly do email. I think that's my main thing. And then I do some, if I'm not getting answers on email, then I jump into Instagram or Facebook. Um, I've personally been finding a lot on Instagram and Facebook, then they transfer me to like somewhere else. So I'm able to get like the right contact info from Instagram or Facebook if I haven't gotten it originally from email to begin with.
Hmm.
I'm also right now targeting more like mom and business companies. So generally, like one email is going to like the owner anyway. But I've started to now go into bigger companies, and those bigger companies is where I'm having to go into like, because I'm trying to get in with like the biggest baseball stadium here, and that's been hard.
Hmm.
So it's just keep finding new emails, that kind of stuff to be able to get into there. But because that's one of my big goals that I've been writing down, and I'm going to figure it out. It's just going to take a while.
Nice. So, to get to we already see that you're an amazing entrepreneur. You know, you love what you do. You're passionate. You put a lot of care into it. So, but what are you doing to really accelerate that? Are you doing any kind of advertising, marketing?
Yes. So my eyelash company and my yoga company, honestly, I never really did advertising and we just grew slowly and organically. And that's not what I wanted to do with this business. I wanted to start off with marketing to begin with. And that's not something that my mom was good at. It's not something that I'm good at. And so I actually found you. And so in April is when we started in with Facebook ads. And so that has been going really well. I have to say that I haven't been taking care of like the leads that come in from there as well, like following up as much as everything. So we're going to be starting doing like the AI portion of it, which I'm super excited for that.
Hmm.
But then we're also Google Ads was my biggest game changer. Google Ads, everyone who comes into my store has found me from Google.
Hmm.
Every single one. They saw my Google ad because I ask everyone, as you're welding, like, how are you? All the small talk that you're doing, I ask them, like, how did you hear about us? Like, what, where did you know to be able to find us today? And every single one is like, oh, I just Googled, permanent jewelry near me and you guys popped up. I was like, yeah. And I'm always like, I'm paying for that. So I'm so glad it's working. Thank you, But no, Google has been a huge, huge game changer for us. Huge.
Yep.
Makes it has made all the difference. I have right now, it's still early in the week. It's only Tuesday. I already have 18 appointments scheduled for Saturday.
So how's your business model working right now? So you're scheduling appointments. Is it like a 15, 20 minute block for permanent jewelry or what?
Yeah, so if it's a single person coming in, I do 20 minutes, just because I have to like, I'm really big on education. So I have to like tell them everything we have, what we have going on. They have to pick their chain, we weld it, and I have to check them out. So then a 20-minute spot is good for that. If I have anywhere from like 2 to probably 4 people coming, I'll do about 15 minutes this spot, just so that way, because usually when there's more people, they have a harder time making a decision because they all want to match and all that kind of stuff. And then if I go over 4 people, I drop it down to 10 minutes a person, just because it's like at that point, welding is going to be faster. Um, and I do the majority of everything myself. I do have 2 other girls that weld as well that help me when we have like huge shows, that kind of thing. Like we have a bar mitzvah that we're doing in January, and that's only three. I only have 3 hours to do 200 people, so in that amount of time, I have. I'm going to have an extra welder and I'm going to have a cutter to be
And
able to help with that.
when you mentioned that before we started recording, you said you got that from one of our tactics, and it was like a 5 grand event.
Yep, exactly. And that's, I'm assuming it's going to, so right now it's 5 grand for 100 people, but she doesn't want me to turn anyone away and there's 500 people. So I'm preparing for more like 250 people. So it's a minimum of 5,000. But I mean, it could be, if we do double it, it could be a $10,000 event.
And that was using our tasting tactic that you learned from one of our recent classes.
Yep, exactly. She found me from a Google ad because she wanted to offer something unique for that. I brought her in for a tasting. Super excited for, everything that you guys, I did it exactly the way that you guys taught in your tasting class. And yeah, we have a contract signed, deposit down, and she has chains picked and all of that, and she's ready to go. So that'll be in January.
Awesome. So I know you've been making, 50K a month, for the past few months or more.
Mhm.
What are your projections for November and December? Are you pretty booked up? Has it slowed down?
No, so I'm on track to hold those 50,000 months. I find with jewelry that it's a lot of spur of the moment, last minute people. They're not planning out unless it's more of like a group for the future kind of. So like having 18 people this coming Saturday, that started booking last Saturday. So in the last 3 days, I've gotten 18 people
Hmm.
on that Saturday. So I mean, if it continues to go the way that it's been going over the next few days, I'll probably have about 30 people on Saturday.
Awesome. So what do you think the biggest, like you've seen the marketing side now the whole year basically, what do you think the biggest mistake people are making with marketing?
They're not marketing or they're trying to do it themselves.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times as a business owner, you're trying to save money. And so you're instead wasting your time by trying to do something that you don't know how to do. Um, and I've also hired companies in the past for my other businesses that have honestly like just taken my money and done nothing. Like it's really rare to have someone actually do what they say that they're going to do and have the results that they anticipate having. Like obviously you can't control like what people are going to do. Like you can't control any of that. But like to do everything that said is something that's like really rare. And that's literally what I've had, and it's been, we're, 6, 7 months now that we've been working together and literally, and I love, like the communication, the fact that like I can just message and be like, hey, I have this idea for Black Friday, like can we do something, and like the back and forth, because I'm like, I don't know what to do, like what have you seen good stuff with, and like it's not anything, it's not me having to come up with ideas, it's not any, it's a sounding board that we're able to come up what's best for like our company and what's you guys have seen success with, to be able to grow. And so Saturday is when our Black Friday special marketing started,
Ooh.
and that's when 18's calls have come in for this Saturday, was all when Black Friday marketing started. So like we just started that a little bit early so that way we could start to get it full, because we're getting slower in the festival kind of season. And then going into like festivals aren't going to start again really till like April. So I want to like really hit marketing hard for like the holidays in January and February and those kind of pieces. So then that way I'm really full in store. So then my goal is to get really full in store, so then that way I can pick and choose like the really big festivals that I want to do, and then at that point like just do those. So instead of doing every weekend a festival, just do maybe a couple of those, but have a lot more in store. So like that's our goal, and then that's something that like I let you guys know, and then so like we've come up with like a whole plan to like start to get that to be able to happen, so that way we're
Mhm.
still rolling in January, February, March, those kind of places.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so pumped for your success. It's always amazing to hear stories like this because when I started in the permanent jewelry industry, so many people, including Tony, honestly, was like, "Ah, that's a fad. I don't ever see anybody making a lot of money with that." And then we've seen so many great success stories. So yeah, congrats on that.
Thank you. They said the same thing when I started eyelash extensions. They said it was a fad. And that no, I was like, I really don't think people are going to want short, thin lashes, but okay. And here we are 14 years later, and it's just gotten crazier.
Yeah,
Like I think as long as you have a quality product and you run your business like a business and you get help when you need help, and, you know, you do what you need to do to treat it as a business, I don't foresee this going anywhere. I
mhm,
mean, jewelry is never going to go out of style. It's not going to be something where that women don't want or anything else. And honestly, it's like an ease and lazy thing. Why wouldn't you want something beautiful on all the time that you don't have to worry about?
exactly.
So,
So, if you could go back, when you first started all these businesses and, when you first started entrepreneurship, well, I know you said you did some entrepreneurship as a kid, but like, what have you really learned over the past 14 years? Like, if you had to go back in time, and you only had 1 minute with yourself, what would you say?
um, ask for help. You don't have to do everything yourself. Um, don't worry about money because money is going to come and go. It's not that. And don't be afraid of failure because there's way worse things than failing. Um, when we went through 2020, that was up until 2020, like that was my biggest fear. Like if someone asked me on anything, like, what is your biggest fear? I would say failure,
Hmm.
because so many things depend on me. All of my staff's livelihood, my kids, my husband's a stay-at-home daddy and homeschools. Like literally everything was on me. And that was my biggest fear, was failure, to not be able to take care of everybody. And I had that taken away. Like in New Mexico, we were forced to be closed from March 17th until September 15th. Um, so we were a longer period of time than a lot of places, and we couldn't do anything at all. Um, and that was the first time that like I had to come to terms with like, well, I might be going bankrupt. I might not have anything. Like that's and it was the first time that like if I failed, it wasn't because of some like I couldn't do anything. And that was like to go through that was really, really eye opening. And the fact that I would be okay. Like I would be okay. But I had to go through that to know what it felt like, to know that I would be okay. And so
Yep.
that was it's a really big thing. And regrowth, in that is when I decided to move. I moved 1,000 miles away. Um, I've started all over completely fresh. And yes, I still have this to like to support me, but it's been the best thing in the whole entire world was that quote failure, right?
Right.
It was the best thing. And so that's definitely something that I would tell myself is don't be afraid to fail because the only pace you can do is rebuild. And you know what you're doing. Like you've already done it, you've already built it that far. So you'd
Yep.
be able to build it even farther knowing what you already know.
Yep. I love that because, I think everybody goes through that fear of failure. Some people never get out of it. And I always tell people, like, at this point in my life, I feel like I could fail 6 times and then succeed on the seventh try faster than most people could fail once just because I'm all about speed. Like, let's go do it. If it fails, we'll just try something different.
And my mom says the same thing about me. She'll like have an idea and I already have it launched. And she's like, I thought we were going to talk about that. I'm like, well, you said it. So it's done. I don't know what to tell you. So we'll see
Yep.
what happens.
And
Yeah.
to me, that's a key ingredient of someone successful because when I look at the opposite approach, which I see a lot of times we see this because we meet with entrepreneurs or business owners who want to grow or they say they want to grow, but then they're just like, well, let me think about it, and they're just so scared to make a decision and so scared of failure that they end up never taking action. And then it's a self fulfilling prophecy. They end up failing in business because they never took that chance.
It also comes down to what you think you can afford, right? Like there's always that thing. And I feel like, like going to school and, paying taxes and all those things, like we're taught through our whole entire life that we always are supposed to live like within our means. Like we're always supposed to have like this part of it. And especially when you're growing a business, you know what? You're going to have sometimes that things are super tight, but you go through those times that things are super tight to be able to explode.
Hmm.
And like that's how you figure out what to happen to make it happen. Like if you continue doing the same thing, isn't that the definition of insanity? Doing
Yep.
the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. But that's what we do. We want something different. We don't want the 9 to 5 job. We don't want any of that. But none of us are willing to do what it takes to be able to get out of that rat race, to be uncomfortable, to eat ramen noodles for a couple weeks to be able to pay for marketing. Like you do those things, you put your business first, and then your business will be able to take care of you. You put yourself first, and your business is just going to be floating alongside of you. And so that's always, like my kiddos know, like, oh, hey, like I have a call. I have those kind of things. Like they always come first. They need me. They know I'm no matter what, I'm always there. But they know, like, hey, we have to take care of the business. And then we get to do a lot of fun stuff. Like they know I have to run into work real quick for an hour, no big deal. Like it's an okay thing. Like I feel like kids are a lot of times are used as excuses.
Yep.
And they're the best things in the whole entire world, but they're so resilient. So even if you get missed I've missed a lot of Saturday and Sundays with my kiddos, but you know what? I have the whole entire week to be with them. So I'll trade those 2 days a week that I'm at shows for 12, 14 hours a day to be able to have 5 days with them that I get to have quality time. Like yesterday, I worked for an hour, so there was 1 hour that they missed me. Other than that, they were with me. They were, and we had to have time together. I homeschool them, like all that kind of stuff. It's just you have to take care of your business.
Yep, for sure. And you're setting a great example for your kids, and you're showing them, this is what it takes to be successful. And you got to do the hard things sometimes that you don't necessarily, want to do. It'd be easier to sit at home and not do anything, but you're going out there and showing them and setting a great example. So props to you.
Thank you. It's also too, and I know I'm doing something right because that's also what they want to do. Like they want to own businesses. They got together and they approached me and they're like, we know that you always have businesses, and so we want to do the same thing. So they started a freeze dried candy business. Like they came
Nice.
up with everything, like, and we had competition last weekend and they're selling their candy and they're learning inventory and they're learning all those kind of things, which are lifelong lessons. No matter
Hmm.
what they want to do in the future, what's going to put it together, they know that they can do hard things and that they'll be rewarded.
Yep, for sure. Love it. Well, I mean, we could go on and on, but I always kind of set a time limit on these things. But one of the best podcasts, probably the best podcast ever done. So I hope whoever's
Thank
watching or listening, they can go back and rewatch, re-listen to it. Leave us a comment below. Let us know what you thought. And then you recently joined because you've been our client for a while, but you recently joined our mastermind. And
Mhm.
so the reason I love that is because we take our top clients, we get them in a group together, and that way they can, learn from each other, feed off each other's energy. And so if you're watching or listening to that and you're not in something like that, it doesn't have to be our level of a mastermind. It could be, whatever level you're at, get around people that are doing a little bit better than yourselves, and learn from them, just like I'm doing with marketing as well. So if you have any questions on that or want to know what kind of programs we have, we'll leave a link below. If you're
I
on
have to
YouTube,
real
go
quick. I
ahead.
don't mean to interrupt you. Your Thursday calls have been life changing for my business. Just so you know,
That's
like
awesome.
there's so many things have come from those because I do everything on the back. Like I do our websites, I do our Canva stuff, like I do everything. And having like so many different areas and ideas and people talking and all that kind of stuff, like literally, like I look forward to the Thursday calls or Thursday recordings if I can't make it. Like so much value. So I just wanted to throw that out there. That has
Awesome.
been like that was a huge transformation in my business where those Thursday calls.
Well, that means a lot to me, and I'll let Tony know the feedback too, because I know he coaches a lot of those as well. But yeah, thanks so much for joining. By the way, guys, if you're still watching this, props to you. I'm going to give away some books, and so comment below if you're listening to the podcast, go to my YouTube channel, Jake Randolph Marketing. Comment on this video, and I'm going to pick a few comments to send you guys some books. But yeah, thank you so much, Payton, for coming on here and sharing all these amazing tips and value. And I look forward to doing another podcast with you in 6 months to see you making 100K months.
Yes, we're gonna do it. I'm so excited.
Awesome. Well, thank you and have a good day.
Thank you so much, Jake. I appreciate you.